Nearly there? Nice. Almost there? Nice. Humping the washing machine to get it back in. Things. I'd rather rewire a house than move a washing machine. Nice. If that doesn't get turned into a GIF. I got a beautiful bucket truck outside doing highways work, and instead we're in here lifting up carpets, finding condoms. I love it. It's a bit of variety, isn't it? This place is a rental, and obviously you can tell it's a rental because this is how it was left. I don't know who the tenants were. They just did a midnight drop and roll, and this is how they've left it. But we've got to do a load of refurb work here. We've got to put down lights in here, and we've got to earth up. We've got to earth up the boiler because there's no bonding to the boiler or anything. So we've got quite a bit here to do. But if you've got to move sofas and stuff like that, just be a little bit ginger, because it's not, it's a general statement, but as a rule of thumb, it's not uncommon to find syringes, needles, used johnnies and all that sort of stuff. So just take a modicum of care when you just stick your arm down the back of a sofa to move it, because as a rule of thumb, not always, but when they leave a property in this state like this, where they've just literally dropped and rolled, if that's the standard, they've left someone else's property in, then there's a reasonable chance they don't care much about other people. So just when you move sofas or you're moving things under carpets, anything, moving TVs or whatever, just take a modicum of care, because it does happen, I had to do the EICR here like 2 months ago. And the certificate was just full of limbs. I couldn't test anything. It's like I couldn't get to the boiler because the plugs you can't unplug. They've plugged these in and then tiled up to it, so I couldn't unplug anything. This is quite clean actually, considering, I know it sounds really bad, this is quite clean. When they were here, this place was just bouncing. I was like, you're knocking on doors trying to get into bedrooms, and like Madda Jaffrey sat there half dead in her bed, and I'm like, I'm not going in there. Like, sorry love, can I just plug in the meter? Lim, but what else do you do? You walk away and it's just full of limitations. So like, we've got a load of work here to do, but I'm not 100% sure how well it's going to go, because the EICR, you might as well wipe your ass with it. It's not worth the paper it's written on, because you couldn't test anything on the day. It's full of students, and like nobody wants their power off, and you give them a power bank and they don't care. They're like, nah, I've got a very important call. Okay. So yeah, limb. This is the thing, like when you start doing work, even if you've done like a really thorough EICR, when you start taking boards up and you start digging deeper in and you start finding more stuff, you just have to raise it to the client and just say, look, sorry, our EICR covers this. But the problem is the clients just think you're robbing them for money, and it's not. It's just the nature of when you start digging further, You'll notice, a few people mentioned it in the last video, the Battenberg. I call it Battenberg on the back. That was a requirement, same as these yellow stripes. All this stuff is all requirements. You don't really think about it, just little things. Talking of that, little Kangaroo's gone in for its racking at Sortimo. I haven't got it back yet, but by the time this video airs, I'll put the pictures on screen, because I did a before and after shot. So I'll put them on screen now. So that one's been done, and the bucket truck, that's got to go up to Sortimo. It's supposed to be end of this month, apparently, but hasn't actually been confirmed. The design's been confirmed. I've gone for a simple design for the racking in the back of that, because it's sort of a mixed use. It's not just going to be doing street lighting. It's not just going to be it's going to be doing a bit of everything. So I've gone for a reasonably light. It's not as full on as these ones. But yeah, we're back up at Sortimo at the end of the month. So you'll see that video coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Right, now I know, because we've each got our own van, obviously we have our own radio station, and we stick. I'm a Magic man myself, but I think it's more appropriate to change James's radio station to something Punjab FM. That's better. Actually, I wonder if there's something better. Hang on. Gadio, yeah, it's better, yeah. Lovely, nice and loud, so when he gets in, perfect. Right, these here are from the kitchen downstairs. We just popped one of the boards here just to get to the kitchen, the track light in the kitchen, because he wants that to come out, and we've got to put spots in. But we've got no earth on the lights. We've got no earth on any of the lighting here, because it's just done in the old 2-core cabling, so there's no earth anywhere. So what we're going to do is, while we've got all the boards up, we're going to run in. We'll run in as much new stuff as we can, and we've got to change all the accessories anyway, because he wants fresh white plastic accessories everywhere. So we're going to go around and change all those. But yeah, it is something you do come across on EICRs, where the lighting doesn't have any earth. There's no CPC on the lighting circuit. As long as you've not got any metal accessories, you can leave it be. And I mean, obviously we'll recommend to the client he rewires it, but chances are he won't. I don't think he will, because it's just too intrusive here, to be honest. So we'll just make sure there's no metal accessories and just put it down as a note on the ticket for the next person, just so they've got a bit of a head start when they come into it. And that's pretty much all you do. But we'll change some of these ones here that we can change. We'll run in new ones now while we're here, because it's no bother to change them. If the boards are up already, it's nice and easy. We can change it as we go. But some of it will have to remain, yeah. These are, on a serious note, these are properly good. If you're doing stuff like this where you don't want to, I mean, there's quite a lot of shit in this place, but if you don't want to have to spend half an hour hoovering up at the end, they're just brilliant. They're like 20 quid, 25 quid, and it just captures everything in there. But for downlights and stuff, it's the way forwards, really is. I'll leave a link now. Right, a little update, because we've been sort of crashing along here without updating you. So you get so stuck into it, you forget. So these spots are in now. This ceiling's lath and plaster is a pig to cut into. These are, I can actually cut these. I don't think the joists are running completely true here, because all the one, or it could just be I mismeasured it, it could be. So I had to open that one out a bit more, but we've got those, you know, in the last video, those downlights, they're like 100mm wide downlights, and they're great for stuff like this. If you make little errors and stuff, covers them up. So those will be what will fit here, I think. What else have we got? Ran in new cables for the switch wires, because there was no earth on this, and it was easy enough to replace them, so we dragged a new feed and 2 switch wires in. These are all in. Got that little cable reeler thing what I was on about. I fucking love that. It's really good. Rumpo Tech it is. I don't know how much it was. They sent it to me. I'll leave a link for it somewhere down on the screen now. It's a good bit of kit. Right, give me 5. I'll see what the others are up to, and I'll be back in a mo. Now, serious question time, right? Why was it, and I don't know the answer to this, why was it in the 70s and 80s when they were wiring homes, right, other than the fact they didn't run CPCs in lighting circuits, which we know about, what was the reason for putting sockets on skirting boards? Straight up, what was the reason? Because like that's a classic example there of one we've just taken off. You can't plug anything into it. Didn't they think at that point when they were wiring it, hang on a minute, no silly sod can plug anything into this, but it didn't seem to cross anyone's mind. If you know the reason why, put it below, because I don't understand that. It just makes no logic to me at all, because you can't plug anything into it.
Day 2. Right,
today is day 2. Different t-shirt. It is raining, which is nice. It's a little bit cooler because it was debilitatingly hot yesterday. But we're just chasing in some of these. We're chasing in some of these sockets here. They were on the 25mm surface back boxes, and they want them recessed in. And it's tile over lath and plaster like this here. And when you try and cut into it, it just crumbles away into nothing. But it is. It's horsehair, essentially. That was my understanding. It's like animal, I mean, horse is an animal hair they use to bind it all together, and that's basically what it is there. You just pull it out in chunks. Yeah, some more of it there. And it's just, apparently they use that as the binding agent when they, I mean, this is really old school stuff, but that's what they used to use apparently. So, bit of trivia. Yeah, a couple of videos back, like probably 10, there was, no, it was on Instagram. I was taking the cover of a boiler off to do the wiring for a smart thermostat. And the amount of people are like, oh my God, you shouldn't take the cover off a boiler, but I don't see why not. You've got to take the cover off to get to the control wiring. You have to physically take the cover off. You're not interfering with the gas side of it. I'd understand if you took the cover off and you start like removing further internal covers that like protect the gas equipment. I get that, but just to take the cover off, it's just 2 screws, take the cover off so you can get to the wiring for the boiler. So I don't see what the problem is with that, but like loads of people had a real beef with that. Why? Because that's pretty standard. I mean, just to take the cover, I mean, that's loads of sparks do that. You take the cover off just to do your wiring. Or I don't know whether that's just people being anally retentive. I'm also not totally sure. I mean, I've got to take the cover off now because this thermostat, we've got to put in, we're putting a Nest one in, a Nest thermostat. So I've got to change it, but I don't know. Leave your thoughts below. I didn't see a problem with it personally, but I'm just earthing up the boiler here because the gas hasn't got an earth. I tried finding where the gas comes in downstairs. I just can't find it. So I'm just doing it at the nearest available spot, which is the boiler. You don't really have to cross bond anything under a boiler either, because you've got that bonding plate, don't forget. So if you earth one pipe, you've got that bonding plate there, which earths everything underneath the boiler. So Put a bit of trunk in there and that's done. My little, these are almost new, I mean new, I've had them about 3 or 4 months. My little Stanley water pump pliers, and they've died. I can't adjust them anymore. Some sort of bush or something there has cracked. Bits of it started falling out when I was tightening up that earth tag. I expect better, Stanley, if you're watching, because that ain't good enough. I wouldn't mind, they were nearly 30 quid as well. And they've not exactly had a hard life when you look at them. They're, you know, I do look after my tools, but it's questionable. Other than thinking how good 2mm earth sleeving is, because it really is nice, what I was going to say is dimmers for LED lighting. Quite a few people are asking, do you have to use like a special dimmer? I would say it's a special dimmer as such, but I use the V Pros, the digital dimmers, because they're the only ones I've found which are flicker free. I've not, out of the numerous, because like you can buy, BG do one, which is supposedly designed for LEDs, but it's not real. I mean, it is, but if you turn it to a certain setting, they do start flickering. And also, I mean, the V Pro ones are just better. When you they're just much smoother, and I think it does extend the life of the LED, the lamp itself. It does make them last longer because it's not so. On some of the halogen dimmers, the wire wound dimmers, when you turn them on, they flicker so badly, and sometimes you go into properties and you see it. And you know, customers complain some of the LEDs have gone out, and I'm like, well, it's probably down to the dimmer. And also, I don't know what quality the lamps were, but it's just worth, if you're doing LEDs, fit digital dimmers if they've got them. It's worth the upgrade. I've actually got Joe on the downlights at the moment. These integral, what are they? These bad boys. I don't even know how much these are. They're a tenner a fitting, and they are fire rated. You haven't got a can. But it's this, I've got a feeling it's this disc which gives it the fire rating, I think. I'm not 100% sure how it works, but yeah, those are brilliant. It's like a 100mm wide disc to cover, well, my little faux pas up there is perfect because it covers that. So it's great if you're pulling, especially out of lath and plaster where it crumbles away. Those are really good, and then you can put whatever lamp you want inside. So they're well worth it. Yeah, so what's happened is, because we had to change the downlights in the kitchen because they had 2 sensor spots and the customer wanted downlights. So we're like, well, we've got all the boards up anyway, so it made sense to run a feed from the fuse board, because this, don't forget, this has still got the old style T, well, I was going to say T and E, but it's not, it's just T, it's just twin with no earth. So technically, I mean, actually you couldn't on these downlights because these downlights have got an earth connection, but you could, if you were just putting plastic fittings up or something, you could just connect it straight up to this. There's no reason you have to rewire it just because it hasn't got a CPC. You could leave it the way it is, as long as you use plastic phase plates. Basically, you can't use metal accessories. But as long as you do that, you can leave it. So that's what we're doing here. I mean, we've rewired the kitchen bit, which is the main bulk of what we're doing in this place. And I'll just put this in an MF box. The only reason we're not rewiring everything is just purely because it's just down to the client's budget, and I've got a feeling they're already at their max, you know, they're already at their max budget. So we're just doing the most important stuff, and this can wait until he refurbishes it in, you know, 5 years time, then we can, you know, then it can be done then. But for the time being, it's safe. It can stay the way it is. Now, as luck would have it, I haven't actually got to open the boiler like I said I was going to earlier, because there's already a cable into it. So this is the old wireless thermostat. Customer's done away with that and got a Nest. So all we've got to do is link up the Nest side of it to this. So I don't know how well the camera can zoom in, but basically it's pretty simple. This is the old one. So essentially what you've got is just live and neutral, which go into power the unit. You've got live neutral, it links out to the common, which is this one here. So live neutral going in, these two, it links across to the common, that one, and then that there is your trigger. And that is basically when you turn a thermostat up for this, all it does, it just basically joins these two cables together, and that just sends a voltage to the boiler, basically telling it, come on, it's time to fire up, and that's it. So you basically just got one trigger wire, that's literally it. So they're simple, they're pretty simple to wire. I just had a message from Penny. The boiler guy was just here. Such a filthy pig. Said we need a new boiler. You English pig. Right, anyway, hang on, it continues, hold on. No, somebody else. So that's fitted. And basically all you've got is just your live and neutral in, and then the trigger, which you also just put a bit of brown sleeving over that. And then that one there was the 12 volts, which goes out to the thermostat, which you saw in the hallway. And it's just literally 2 connections. Earth we're not using, but I've connected it in anyway. And that's literally it. It's as simple as that. Happy days. Okay, I think we're coming to the end of time on this video, but just before I go, I just wanted to show you one thing. So this, some of the, again, when you're doing EICR, you know, sometimes you'll see sockets that are hidden and you don't see them. Well, this is one of them. So this is something that we flagged. We didn't flag this up on the EICR. We didn't see it. It was just this, all these sofas and stuff were in the way. But when you take it off, this has got the old VIR cabling. Now, in essence, there's nothing wrong with it as long as it's still serviceable. So like, you know, some of the vulcanized rubber cable, when you strip it, this is a classic example where it turns brittle. And as soon as you start flexing it, it just cracks and it just literally, the outer sheathing just falls off the aluminium core. So in that case, it is just a C2, and all we can do here is just, all I can do is just put this neatly in Wagos and just put a blank plate on it. This has got a solid floor here, so it's just, this disappears somewhere under the floor. So what it would be nice to do is try and remove it, but in reality, how easy is that going to be here? It's just not practical. All I can do is take this socket out of service and make a note of it on the ticket in reality. But if it's still supple, sometimes you get it. And I think it was the different years that they manufactured it, because some of them, you can pull it out and it's super supple. It's like normal, it's perfectly good for continued service. But yeah, just something to, you know, take note of. Just look out for it, flex it. If you do see it, just flex it and see if it's brittle. Obviously turn the power off if you're not sure before you flex it, because otherwise it will crack and it will short.